G'day folks, Raymond Foster here, hope you're doing great. Somebody that recently added me on Facebook, this individual Lisa, shared this meme earlier, so I just left a little comment below. At the top we can see it says, "Cancel culture be like," then it has a picture of Indians or Indigenous Americans. Then you've got actual Native Americans or white Americans, and then you've got African Americans. Alright, then in the next picture, the Indigenous American, or the people who came before the Americans, they call them Indians or whatever. I'm not sure exactly what they like to be called or what they're supposed to be called. They're gone, and now it's just the Native American, the white man, and African Americans. And then the next picture, an African American's gone, it's just the Native American white man, an Indigenous American white man, and then one African American. The next picture in the meme, it's just the Native American, the Indigenous American, and it says progress. So this is clearly an anti-white meme trying to flip the reality on its head, create a false anti-white narrative, and suggest that somehow non-whites have been cancelled or erased in America, when the complete opposite is the truth of reality. So I just left this comment here to sum it up. Except it's the opposite, and only whites get socially lynched for being white. White statues are torn down because they represent whites, and evil anti-whites want to erase us all from existence. So it's only white folk who are currently suffering an erasure of our culture and our people, what folk will call cancel culture, which is an anti-white term. Even just saying cancel culture is anti-white, because it's trying to twist and misinterpret the actual reality, which is called white erasure, and call it something that it's not, calling it cancel culture. Why? So that they can try to be anti-white and promote white erasure, the harm and abuse of innocent members of Western kind simply for being white, okay, with flipped narratives of reality like this meme. So the very reason the term cancel culture even exists is so that people can be anti-white, lie about the situation, okay, and not call it what it is, which is just white erasure, the erasure and attack on white people. Only white statues are being torn down. Only white folk are being kicked out of workplaces for their race. Only white folk are being persecuted on a government level. There's literally laws written into the state, into the federal government, to persecute and discriminate against white people on the basis of our race. No one else is suffering the same persecution and discrimination that the white race is suffering. So to ignore this reality and pretend like it's not the truth, instead of calling it what it is, which is white erasure, all right, they made up this term, and they call it cancel culture, and then try to pretend like it's non-whites who are being negatively affected, when the reality is no non-whites are being negatively affected, and the only negative effects that they have is the collateral effects of the negative attack and effects, okay, then negative outcomes, conclusions towards white people. So it's not called cancel culture. If you ever hear anyone saying cancel culture or talking about that, just point out, no, it's actually called white erasure. It's anti-white to call it cancel culture. All right? And just leave it at that. So there you go, folks. That's this whole little situation. Remember that cancel culture is an anti-white meme pathogen, which is trying to supplant the actual reality, the actual term and word, which is called white erasure, which is the actual thing. So when they tear down a statue It's called white erasure. All right? It's not cancel culture. That's only what anti-whites call it, so that it takes the focus away of it being an attack on the white race. So they don't want you to call it white erasure, because then that actually shows the intent, what it is, who it's harming. It's only attack on the white race. It's harming us whites. So instead, they want you to call it cancel culture, ignore that it's just an attack on the white race, and that we're the most discriminated, persecuted race on the planet. Ignore that reality to perpetuate that discrimination and abuse of innocent members of Western kind, to perpetuate and promote the abuse of innocent white children. Okay? So whenever anyone says cancel culture or talks about cancel culture, you let them know that's an anti-white meme pathogen. The actual thing you're supposed to be saying, the real thing in the real world, is called white erasure. And the only reason you wouldn't call it white erasure and you're calling it cancel culture instead is so that you can try to obscure the fact that it's just an attack on the white race, so that you can promote the abuse of innocent white children. Done.